Hey girl, welcome to the Get Your Guy Coaching podcast. My name is Anwar White, but you can just call me your own personal dating and relationship coach. Each week, you'll hear actionable advice, tips, and strategies that you can implement in your own love life. I'm talking about healing your heart, dating effectively, and understanding men so that you can, you guessed it, get your guy. Are you ready to level up your love life? All right, let's go.
I never felt the way I do about anyone but you.
Okay, I have a client here, Miss Carol, and I'm going to bring her on, and she can talk a little bit about her experience, just kind of being in the program. Go from there. Hello, hello, hello.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm great. Happy to be on the live. This is my first time going live on Instagram.
You are so, yes, you are like popular. You're a star.
Hi, everyone.
So, Carol, introduce yourself. Let them know how old you are, like where you're from, what you do, and then we'll talk a little bit about your experiences.
Sure. So my name's Carol Guerrero. I am from Lynn, Massachusetts, by way of Dominican Republic. My parents are both Dominican immigrants. I have lived in Massachusetts now for 2 years after having moved away for a while for law school and to be a teacher for a while. So I'm on my third career as a lawyer and happy to be back in Boston. I joined the program officially in September, but I've been like a longtime follower of N-Word for all of 2021 at the referral of a good friend and somebody else that I knew that was in the program and was having a really positive experience. And so I just, I consumed like everything that Anwar said publicly. And then I joined the program and there was a whole lot more. So I'm happy to chat with you all today. I also see some people in here that I know, so hey,
amazing. Very cool, very cool, very cool. So talk to me a little bit about, you mentioned that you basically were stalking me. And
you put yourself out there, though. You put yourself out there.
I try, girl. I try. So talk to me because, we had a conversation, I want to say in April and May, right?
Yeah.
And so you were kind of listening and hearing what I had to say and why? What did you feel I was saying that maybe was interesting to you, and why did you decide to kind of join the program?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I was in the dating world and I was confused all the time about what different things meant when men did them and how I should receive them, whether it meant that I needed to dig in and do more work, whether they were playing around. And so I really was looking for a way to like be systematic in my dating and not just like floating in the wind, which is definitely what I was doing. And so the first podcast I listened to, I think, is your intro podcast, which was a session you did with, I think, a business group. And I remember listening to that and being like, oh, like unexpected. And then like as the podcast progressed, I was like, oh, there's like a system to this. And it also like really aligned with my values. Like I didn't feel like, like I should have to change or like that I should be like following some arbitrary like 90-day rule or something.
Girl, please don't.
I know, exactly. And so I just felt like what you were saying really aligned with like the growth mindset that I was trying to adopt. And I felt like what you were saying was very like internally consistent with how I think. And so I thought like, okay, there's something here. And like, that's what I kept listening for. And then I just had a lot of little breakthroughs with like just listening to the podcast and on my own. And so I just got to a point where I was dating and I really liked this guy. And then he hit me with something that just like kind of blindsided me. And I was like, man, like I would really like to talk to somebody about this because I don't know if this is a deal breaker. And I also have feelings about it. I'm not sure how to navigate it. And like, I could talk to my friends, but like your friends have a million opinions, and none of them are necessarily the way to go. And I just thought like, I've been listening to Anwar for like 8 months and I just know that he would have like something good to say about this. But, and so I'm going to reach out. And then I did. And like that guy that I was struggling with, like, I just I just didn't know what to do and how to navigate the situation is now my boyfriend. So that's because of you. And so I just have to say that, like, it's not, I tell people recently, like, it's not just dating, it's like life coaching. So
how we do one thing is how we do everything.
Right.
So.
Right. That's exactly right. And it's like changed so much of how I interact with him and with other people. And so it's been great.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So talk to me a little bit about your love life before the program, and then we can talk about your love life a little bit, you know, during the program, and kind of what are some of those things that you've learned, if you would mind sharing.
Sorry, I think I got kicked out there, but I'm back. So yeah, so my love life before the program. Well, I was dating and you know, I had a lot of expectations of what my guy would be. And if he wasn't meeting those expectations, I was kind of like disappointed, but I would keep it to myself because I wanted to keep the peace, right? And so
yes.
that was my MO. I also just like, I did a lot of work, you know, like I was like, let's go on this date, or like, you know, I wasn't necessarily observing what they were doing. I was like making things happen, as I do, as, you know, women, successful
as an overachiever, right? I work with overachieving women, specifically most of them being women of color, and so it's a natural inclination for you to just make it happen and get it done.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which is the complete opposite of what you should be doing in dating.
It was really counterintuitive. It was so counterintuitive. So I was doing the most, you know, I was trying to make things happen and like not observing and receiving men for like what they were doing. And so that just led to a lot of disappointment and like a lot of like effort that just made me feel less energetic about dating, you know, like I felt like, oh man, like this is just another one, and I'm just like, this is where we are, so let me just accept this, you know. I just couldn't see the path out of that cycle. And so that was before we started working together, even though I was listening to the podcast and like trying to internalize everything you were saying.
I think that's a really good point, because I think sometimes people will be listening to my lives or my podcasts and they're thinking, oh my God, this is great, I don't really need to hire a dating coach, I'm getting all of this, like, you know, all of these great things that I'm hearing from him, and it's like I have him as a coach, but like without paying.
Right, exactly. I just remember you always said like, this is the tip of the iceberg, and I was like, man, like I know that, and I just want to know. And so I would say though that like the podcast like really helped me start to shift my mindset. I was like, how are people showing up for me? Let me stop chasing, you know? And so then I started dating people that were showing up, but like who I was incompatible with. And like, I just was hyper focused on one person because I didn't want to go back out there, because I didn't necessarily have a strategy about how to like efficiently sift through the men that pop up on these apps. And so after I started working with you, you know, I had already met this guy, right? But I was also talking to other people, and that was encouraging because I felt like I had a really efficient system for working through the apps, while also confused about, not confused, but like dating the guy who's not my boyfriend. And so I felt like it was really systematic, and at no point did I feel like I needed to make it work with the one guy, because I knew that there were other guys that would become options. And so I would say that the biggest shift was like, I stopped hyper focusing, and I also just like had a strategy both for the people I was dating and the people that I was yet to meet. Yeah,
I love that. So I think sometimes people are like, will I really find someone and get with someone just because I'm like kind of with the dating coach? And so what would you say to those people that feel that way?
I just have to say that like a year ago, you know, like I was devastated by this like breakup that I had with somebody that I was dating who I wasn't exclusive with, but like who just like totally came out of left field and like shocked me, you know? And I was in such a place where I was like, I see around me that my friends are in relationships that make a lot of sense and that they can be their full selves with, and that like, that just like are really a match. And I don't see that for myself, like, at all, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like I have to do X, Y, and Z before I can meet that person, before I even start dating. And so, and now, like, I'm in this relationship that, like, it just, like, blows my mind how secure I feel all the time. Or, you know,
Yeah.
most of the time we have our moments. We're a work in progress.
Don't we all, girl? Don't we all? Yes,
So,
ma'am.
but, like, I just feel so secure with him, and like I feel like I want to be with him all the time. And like I'm an introvert, like I don't like people, like I can't be around people 100% of the time.
Right.
And like when he leaves, I miss him, you know, like I want him to be around.
Yeah.
And so like I think I said to someone recently, like I think he's my person, you know, like I think he is. And it's just like it's like unbelievable almost that transformation from a year ago. And it really just required like a mindset shift, you know? And I think in the program you talk about like unconscious incompetence, you know, like at one point I had no idea that I was doing it wrong and that's why it wasn't going well. And then when I started listening to you, I realized that I didn't know what I was doing, but like I could fix it. And now I'm at the point where I'm like consciously thinking about how to do this well, and like with your help I'm figuring that out. And so I feel like I'm going to get to the point where like I'm like in this relationship I'm confident and I know exactly what I need to do to like be my full self and be received by this person that I'm choosing to spend my time with.
Yeah.
And so does that answer your question? I can't remember what the question was.
It does.
Okay.
You
All right.
said that there was a huge mindset shift for you. What other things have you kind of received from the program or learned that have been game changers for you?
Ooh, the biggest one, which I feel like I had a breakthrough about like just last week, is that I think when something is sitting on my spirit, you know, like I need to communicate it. And it's not necessarily like reprimanding or like, or, you know, calling somebody out. It's just like, this is my truth. And I'm going to tell you in a loving way. And like, I hope that you can accept it. And like, I think as a people pleaser, I often thought like, I can't tell someone when I'm upset, and like it's better for me to not tell them. That will keep the peace. But the truth is that by suppressing my real feelings, I like create inner turmoil within myself, and that affects how I move all the time. You know, and
keeping
so like
peace outwardly, creating war inwardly.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And so, for example, like something like I hadn't said something that was bothering me, and then like every little thing started bothering me, you know?
Don't I know it, girl? Yes.
And so, like, that's affected my relationships with like certain family members that I fight with all the time. That's affected relationships with like certain coworkers who like cross boundaries. And, you know, it's like a really, I couldn't have even identified 6 months ago that I was keeping this inner turmoil within myself to keep the peace elsewhere, and that it wasn't even working, you know? I just feel like I've become a lot more in tune with my feelings, because you're always asking me like, how are you feeling? And I'm like, oh, let me think about that. So
because when you're someone who is always achieving things you're always doing, and you don't really check in with yourself to understand how you're feeling. And I'm hoping that you understand, and you can maybe attest to this, that like how you're feeling is it's like the number one thing that needs to be known and clarified in the relationship, or it won't work.
Right. I mean, the other thing that's right. That's 100% right. The other thing that helps is vulnerability, you know? And like, I have found that I've said something that was like extremely vulnerable, like I felt very exposed by. And the only thing that has come from that is like more connection, because it has allowed him to be more vulnerable. And it's like, I've told you, like, I feel like a vulnerability hangover sometimes, because I'm like, wow, that was a lot. Like, I just can't believe I said all that, you know? And then like, there have been like the direct consequence of that has been him like revealing something that was vulnerable for him. And so I'm just like, even when I have that vulnerability, like cringe, I'm like, it's okay. Like, this is a safe space. Like, and it's going to create a safe space for him too. And so, I didn't know how to do that. Even like, I see in theory, like I could think about how to do that, but I literally couldn't do it until you and I like literally spoke about it. Like, what are the words, you know? And had some of those moments ourselves, between you and me, so that I could then communicate them to my guy.
I'm so glad that you're sharing this. One of the things that I also do with my clients is we go through exactly how we're supposed to lead up to an exclusive relationship, and we prepare for that conversation. And, my job is to be of the utmost support for my clients. And I know that we've had some moments, right, where we've been texting, whether it's 6 in the morning or 11 p.m. after a date, right?
Right.
Talk to me about those moments, because I think a lot of people maybe aren't understanding like what sort of support happens in the program.
Yeah, that's a good that was like one of my first moments where I thought, oh, the program's really worth it, because I was on a 4th date. I still remember. And
I do too.
And it was this great date that I like had a really good time in. And at this point we hadn't kissed or he hadn't made any moves. Like we hadn't even held hands. And so I was like, okay, this date was great. Like there's no way it's not going to happen at the end of this date. And then in the last 5 minutes, it was like he became a different person. Like he was walking with his hands like clung together behind his back. He gave me like a half-second hug, and then it like felt like he just ran away. Like he gave me the half-second hug and ran away. And I was like, I literally was standing in the middle of the street like what? Like it just doesn't make any sense. And so I texted Anwar and I said, I'm like really frustrated right now. And then he asked me some follow-up questions. You asked me some follow-up questions. And I remember you saying like, okay, you need to tell him this. And I was like, whoa, like I can't tell him that. But then you said like, this is something you could say, but like say it in your own words. I said essentially what you told me. And it led to this like very productive conversation about where he was and whether he was feeling it romantically or whether it was just a friendship. And he was
assumed because, sorry to interrupt, because there wasn't a lot of physical intimacy that he wasn't really feeling it.
Exactly. And he was like, I wouldn't be talking to you every day if I wasn't feeling it. Like he felt the exact opposite of what I was assuming.
And I just want to let the ladies out there know who are listening, men who do not get physical with you really quickly are actually serious about it. And I think that sometimes people don't understand that they think, oh, you're not trying to do anything, that means you don't like me. No, right. It's actually the complete opposite. And I think that was the moment that I had to share that with you.
Yeah.
That it was like, no, this is something that is actually, he's making very sacred. And he's overly respecting your boundaries because he cares about you that much. Right?
Yeah. And he has continued to do that. And I've like felt a lot of safety from that. To your point about the coaching, that was, I think, maybe like a week into the program. And so I felt like, wow, Anwar like immediately heard and understood what I was saying. And like immediately at like 11:30 at night or whatever it was. Like,
yes, honey, I'm texting in the bed with my partner on the side. I know he thinks I'm cheating on him. And I'm like, no, it's my client. It's my client. He needs me.
Right. And then like, and I mean, all of that happened within a week, and of working with you. And so I just like, that built a lot of trust for me because I was like, oh, Anwar's going to understand what I'm going through and is going to like immediately like step in. And like, that's borne out many times. Like, I think I was on the West Coast, like on a trip with Bay, right? And I was texting you at like 5 a.m.
Wait, by the way, that's one of the first long trips with Bay, right?
Right.
With Bay. Like,
right.
You've had a lot of firsts in the last few months.
Right? I continue to have a lot of firsts, yes.
Yeah.
So,
I want to honor that because I think that we date for so long and it's hard. And so when you do have these opportunities and experiences, it's so beautiful. So I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah. I'm happy for me too.
Okay, so you were with Bay on a West Coast
trip.
trip.
So I was with Bay and I was like, Anwar, this is happening. And I was like, please respond at a more appropriate time. I'm just texting you now because he's asleep and like these are the 2 minutes I have to text about this. And he was like, and Anwar, you said like, I have 3 children. I'm awake. Like, so you've just been like abundantly available. Like, I don't understand how you do it. And I'm really grateful for it because sometimes like it just feels so important in the moment. And it's nice to have somebody to bounce ideas off of that isn't just like a friend who's like, oh girl, like, yeah, that sucks. Like somebody who is like really thinking about what my long-term goals are and like how I can honor myself in these situations that sometimes feel like they get in the way of those goals.
Yeah, definitely. So for anyone who may be on the fence, thinking about coming into the program or not, what would you say to them?
I would say if in 6 months, and I don't think that it will take that long because I've only been in the program for like 3. if in 6 months you could feel like this love life thing, which is a mystery to you, could be resolved, would you do it? You know? And like, I have full faith in Anwar about his experience and like talents, true talents in this space. And so it's just a question of whether you want to get to where you want to be. And if you do, then you should sign up, because I mean, I knew what the value was, but I just had no idea how I would get there. And like the day-to-day value is just like far beyond what I pay for it. So
Yeah.
100%.
Thank you, girl. You're buttering me up. I feel so good and warm inside. It's so sweet of you.
I'm glad I could return some of it because you give it to me so often.
Girl, thank you. Well, Carol and I have a session right now, so we gotta go. We gotta talk about Bay. We gotta talk about everything that's going on. But Carol, thank you so much for sharing your experience with, all of the followers. And for those of you that are interested in having an amazing experience like Carol has, you can DM me and we can have our first date on a consultation call. If you want to go to www.getyourguycoaching.com/apply, we'll have our first date. And then before you know it, your love life is going to be rocking out. All right. I have a current client that is we're going to chat and talk about it. Okay, here she is. Oh my gosh. Hey, Pam girl.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
You look good.
Oh, thank you. Got my hair done. And...
Yes, it looks good, girl.
Okay, thank you.
Happy holidays to you. I haven't talked to you in a while because I've taken the last week or so off. How have you been?
I've been fantastic. Busy. Always busy.
She's a busy lady, y'all. Let me just say, I'm so happy. I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to just kind of chat with me and also chat with the followers and listeners of the podcast about, your experience. I think it's like really helpful to hear from people who are actually going through the program to understand what it looks like, what sort of support is given at that time, just so that they can, for those women that are on the fence, get an understanding of what it really looks like. Because that's the question that I get a lot. But before we kind of get into that, why don't you kind of just maybe introduce yourself a little bit, tell the people who you are and how fabulous you are.
Okay, yes. Hi, my name is Pam. I'm usually on here at Speech Orlando. I'm a speech language pathologist. I own my own practice. I am a single mother of 3 amazing children, ages 21, 18, and 8. So busy. I'm an author. I'm a guest speaker, business consultant, and just busy. And I love life. And, so I excel at a lot of things and some things not so much.
You are a high achieving woman, which is, the women that I work with. And it's been a joy to coach you and continue to coach you. So why don't you talk a little bit about kind of your thought process into working with me, right? Because you have been dating for a while, but there's a specific decision that is made to like actually do this thing. So talk to the people about it.
Okay. So, oh my gosh, I see so many speech language pathologists on here, which is funny. Okay. A little bit about me. Being a high achieving speech language pathologist, I put a lot into being a speech language pathologist, a speech therapist, building my practice, being there for my kids, being there for my husband when he was alive. I'm widowed right now, so I put a lot into that. I didn't put a lot into healing me and my inner child, and kind of even having an idea of what I want as far as relationships and different things like that. So when my husband did pass away, I just kind of buried all of that down. I don't know whenever there is a good time to really start working on that. You're always, I'll do it when ... I ultimately, I felt like it was time to work on some things because I wanted to put myself first, and I definitely wanted to hopefully leave some kind of good legacy with my kids. Like, I want them to see that their healing is important, that it's ongoing, it's an ongoing work, and it's worth it, and it's something to be valued. So it's been a process. It continues to be a process.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk a little bit about you coming into the program and
let's talk about some of the things that you've gained, right? As you have kind of gone through this process.
Okay, can I just be honest? Honestly, I was very resistant. No, I knew I wanted it for myself, but I wasn't always like, yeah, let's go. Many times there was a lot of eye rolls. And, you know, it's not always comfortable, but coming into the program, I had a lot of walls up. And I had a lot of difficulty with vulnerability. Like I thought I was okay in these areas, like thinking, oh, okay, I'm good. I can be vulnerable with guys. I'm good with, being in a relationship. But it turns out, no, not so much.
I love that you're able to admit that early when we started working together. Yeah.
Yes. At this point, I'm able to admit that. So I think it's definitely been a journey to, once you kind of come and see like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of things that are to be worked on, and it's not overwhelming. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. Just take it piece by piece. And as a result, I've met some amazing people, amazing guys, and been able to navigate it with, I think at this point, peace, a lot of peace. Like even just today, okay, so I went to get my hair done and I'm walking in, and my hair is like all over the place, and I have grays showing, right? So I got to get it all colored and all that good stuff. And I'm walking in, and I put on a little bit of weight, but I looked at myself and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so cute. Like even the way I look at myself and the way I like affirm myself, even through the changes, like clearly, I need to work out a little bit more, but it doesn't even matter. Like I appreciate myself in such a new and exciting way. So that's really exciting too. Very exciting.
I love that. And I'm so happy that you're able to see that, because it's like, when like you bring your kids around family and your family's like, oh my God, they've grown so much, but like you're just there every day. So like, I guess like they're just, but it's like actually being able to step back and be like, wow, I've grown so much during this time. It's like so important. And I'm so glad that you called out the vulnerability, which is such a huge hindrance for so many women out there, right? In terms of without that vulnerability and without lowering those walls so that people can actually see the real estate.
Right. Because it's
hard.
Such a good turn. Yeah. I really had no idea how much of a toxic, like, I'm thinking like Superman, like it's like kryptonite to guys when we come across and we're not vulnerable, and we think, well, they've not earned the right for me to be vulnerable, so I'm just going to stay, and I'm going to, I read an article, someone sent me an article today about some different trends in dating, and I'm thinking, well, I'm really glad I've gone through this program to know that that's complete and utter bull. Some of the different things, like making sure you hardball a guy first date and tell them exactly what you're looking for. And I'm like, oh, that will not work, because that's not really being vulnerable. So I know why these things aren't going to work. Not like, oh, let me try it out. That sounds like fun. Let me see if that works. And more than anything, like I would say also this program, it really helped me to kind of, know why I like the things that I like. Like I do cherish attention. Okay. And that sounds so simple. Like everybody's like, of course, I like attention too. I like attention too. No. But it's a real need for me, and it stems back from my childhood. So I know it's a need for me. And when I don't get attention, I have the choice to have a mature response to know that, okay, I need attention, but clearly there's something else going on. And I've been able to navigate so many more relationship type, situations, because I know my needs, because I know when my needs aren't being met, and I can make that decision of, okay, how do I proceed from there? Do I proceed with a little bit more grace, or I just have a better understanding instead of just possibly beating myself up and saying, oh, you're just trying to, gain all the attention. Well, no, it's a need. I know, and I need to see how I move forward from there. So it's been great. It's been great. Yeah. As a busy professional, it's been great and very empowering.
I'm so happy to hear that. I always say that clarity really gives confidence. And with that confidence, you can do whatever you want in your love life, right? And like not feel like you have to be triggered all the time, because small things can trigger like very big responses and reactions. And so I'm so glad that you have the clarity now to be able to navigate that in a way that's going to best serve you, right? More than anything else. And you have been meeting some quality guys.
I have. So it's exciting. It's exciting to see where everything goes. And I used to be a nut. used to be a nutcase. Like I used to,
Say more, girl.
like,
Say more, girl. How are you a nut?
I was neurotic. I was always like, even when I set a date, I say, okay, all right, let's do a date. And I'd like check it off my list. Very deep, just very goal oriented. So it was like, check off the list. Okay, got a date. All right. So now they need to come up with the magical date and read my mind and wow me, and there's so much pressure on them. So there's a lot of things. I don't want to divulge and go into all of it, but there's a proper way of doing things that makes them feel comfortable. And, you can even share and move in more vulnerability. And it's just been a lot easier. I just feel a lot more at peace. I'm not as anxious, because life happens when you are in a relationship. And so it's definitely been very, very good to kind of navigate everything with peace,
And I would also say with that vulnerability, some of the work that we've done, like I do with all of my clients, is boundary work and really being able to set boundaries and feel good about them. Not feel like you are a bitch or rude or anything like that, but like doing it in a way that you feel good about yourself instead of just this kind of adversarial, kind of confrontational energy.
Right. I did navigate something very early on with a guy, and I think a lot of women I know I did kind of shy away from the boundaries because a little bit, fearful, especially if someone is being, assertive or you don't know exactly how they're being, and it's kind of hard to, navigate things. But setting those boundaries, it really helped me to express boundaries without, feeling that I'm being extra or I'm being difficult or I'm being unreasonable. Like boundaries are boundaries and they're very healthy. And it takes practice. It takes practice, but it definitely can become second nature. So
yeah, and I feel like it has with you in so many ways. So I'm just really proud of you for just that transformation, right?
Yes.
It's been really amazing. So talk to me about kind of any sort of surprises that you were not expecting through this process that like you were like, oh, this is interesting, I wasn't expecting this, or other parts of your life that have been changed or transformed in working and kind of focusing on this part of your life, your love life, that you've noticed?
Well, definitely in my professional life, setting boundaries, even many times with parents, and there's definitely the need for counseling, and I don't have a lot of time. So when I spend time with counseling or when I spend time with employees or any kind of staff, I need to make sure that I'm doing it in an efficient way. And vulnerability, being vulnerable really helps. Being professional, but being vulnerable and getting to the point, and it helps to build that rapport on so many different levels. And it's been very key, I think, to the growth of my practice and connecting with people. And I'll call you later. I have a new thing that, happened, but
yes, girl, text me after this, or we'll talk after this.
We'll talk afterwards. So lots of job opportunities because of connecting and that vulnerability, and just the way being able to connect with people, it opens doors. It really opens doors. You may think it, and I think I had the, thought that it makes you weaker, but connection, people are, even professionally, without crossing lines, staying within boundaries, because you're moving within boundaries, but people want connection, and being able to connect with people in an easy way, in an authentic way,
in a way that you still feel safe, right? That you're not like telling all your business out there in the world, right? There are ways to be vulnerable and still feel
in a professional
secure.
Even in a professional sense. But just that vulnerability speaks volume in relationships, in dating, in family life, as a mother, as an employer, a lot of different ways. It definitely helps to attract the right clientele, attract the right staff, and also build new business relationships and dating relationships.
Yeah, that's amazing. So talk to me a little bit, or talk to the people about some of the support that you have had kind of in the program, because I don't think people understand that I am like here.
Yes. So the support is 100% there. I would say, even wrapping your head around you going on a date. Usually, you stay in your head and you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to do this, that, and the other. But there's things that you don't really think about. And when you're just in your head, more than likely you don't have a little guy in your head. You usually don't as women. Yeah. And we think, oh, I know how they think, or I know him, or whatever. But it's very nice to have a male perspective, because there's things that you would not even remotely think, even though you may think I'm moving and masculine energy, I'm more masculine than feminine, I get along with guys more than girls. That ain't it. It's still not it. It's still not it. It's still not it. So having Anwar, having you as just someone to bounce ideas off of, and after the date just be like, oh my gosh,
our date downloads, girl. Our date downloads.
Or hey, it was great, it was fantastic, I'm super excited, it's like a 8 out of 10, blah blah blah. So it really helps to have that. I mean,
I think it's really important because earlier in this conversation you said, oh, I have to tell you about this later, and I don't think people understand that. No, like, we're texting.
I really mean that.
We're texting often with each other because part of the work is also being able to connect and rely on a man. And so I am here so that you, as my clients, can be relying on me and texting me and asking for help and getting into the habit and the pattern of doing that, because in a relationship, that's how it's going to be. I want you to be in the habit of that, so that you don't have to go from 0 to 100 when you get in a relationship. It's a seamless transition, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's why I do it. Also, because every date, every interaction is an opportunity for you to learn about who you are in this love game, in this love space, in dating, in relationships, about men, right? There are some men that will trigger you. There are some men that will illuminate some other parts of you that you didn't know were there, or there to a certain degree. And so the reason why I'm talking to my clients at the beginning of dates or after dates is to kind of talk through all of that. Right? So that you're super clear and that you're able to internalize it, because as busy, successful women, and those are the women that I work with, we knock something off of our list, we hit the goal, we move forward, right? And that's oftentimes some of the reasons why this part of their life isn't necessarily where they may want it to be, because we haven't done the analysis to understand the whys, the hows, and the whats of these interactions, especially with the men. They're a special creature.
They are special. They are so special.
They are.
Special in a good way, but special in a special way too. So
So for anyone who's thinking about joining the program, or maybe let's say on the fence, maybe they followed me for a few months or so, what would you tell them?
Well, coaching, and that's what, I would say Anwar is an excellent coach, but you do need a coach. I mean, it's not unlike anything else. If you wanted to learn tennis, you're going to need a tennis coach. And unfortunately, Anwar, I am exactly like this on the tennis court. I'm just like, I don't get it. Why my body mechanics? I have no awareness of body mechanics whatsoever. They're like, oh, you're flipping your wrist back. I'm like, what are you even talking about? So I
you're giving the people a glimpse into our sessions, girl.
Yeah, it's a lot of but you know what? I put it into play, and I make the adjustments, basically, just like tennis. I make the adjustments, and it doesn't really come from an internal voice. Let me just say, a lot of it is so counterintuitive. So for anybody that's on the fence, I really would say you're swimming in a direction that is intuitive, but honestly, I can say on the other side, I guess I can say kind of going on the other side of doing dating successfully and feeling good about it and feeling in charge and empowered. A lot of that on the other side is counterintuitive. So you do need someone that's going to kind of steer you, not beyond what you want to do, not impose anything, not make you do anything, but just to give you an alternative way of thinking, of actually looking at the root of some of the problems, because that's very important. There's so much baggage you don't want to bring into a relationship, and just saying, oh, time heals it, or I've dealt with it.
Sure, girl, sure.
So it really does. If you're ready and you're ready to, face the truths of some things, and you don't have to do it alone. and you don't have to stay in the same spot, basically. Because more than likely your dream guy or the guy you're looking for is not going to be stuck in that same spot. It's on that other side of healing, or on that journey. So
yeah, I think
get
it's so
moving. Just
important.
get moving.
Yeah, yeah. Cut the inertia. Get
Right.
moving. I love that. What's really interesting, I'm so glad that you brought this up, is that, the success that you have in all other parts of your life and the way that you do things to attain that success is not going to help you in this part of your life. And this is why there may be struggles, right? Because you're trying to do what you did in terms of get that job or get those good grades and do all of that. And all of that is going to make things harder and worse for you. And so it'll be very hard to do something completely different than you've ever done it before, right? And it's going to bring up questions about, well, who the hell am I?
Right.
What's really going on here, right? And that is what I think is the value out of having a coach, so that you have someone holding your hand as you kind of go through this new terrain, right? And figure out and get stronger as you continue up, up the mountain and through the trek, right? I think that's what's really important, and the value out of the coaching as well. So I'm so glad that you shared that, because I think it's like such an important way to think about this part of our lives, is that you have to do it differently. And if you continue to do it the same way, girl, you're going to be in a weep of hurt and trouble.
Yes.
At least that's been my experience. I don't wish that on anyone.
No. But it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Good. All right, Pam. Well, thank you so much, girl, for sharing your time with me and sharing your experience with all of the people. I so truly appreciate it. I think it is so important for people to hear directly from amazing women that have been through the program, that are going through the program, because you're still in the program, and understanding exactly their experiences so they can know what to expect, when they're in the program as well. Are there any other final thoughts or feelings? We got for a second. I was saying, do you have any other thoughts or feelings that you want to share?
I would just say, as much as we think we're ready, girl, you may not be ready. So it takes process to get ready. And it seems like, oh, well, how wouldn't I be ready for love? Or it's a lot. It's a lot. And it's all good and it's amazing. But there's definitely some prep work, I think, that, it's a lot to intake. It's beautiful. But, when someone accepts you for who you are and all your quirky craziness, it's like, it's a great feeling. It's a great feeling. And it's worth the work. It's worth the work.
Yeah, definitely. It is a lot. And so I think for women out there that are interested in joining the program, we have a new group coaching program that's starting in January with a lot of amazing individuals from around the world. Please DM me, or you can book a consultation call at www.getyourguycoaching.com/apply. As Pam says, it's work, it's great work, and it's moving you toward your love goals, but you need to be prepared to actually do the work. There's a reason why my program is 6 months long, because there are some times where it's going to be hard, and there are going to be dips and highlights and lowlights and things like that. It's all part of the journey. So I want to kind of manage your expectations around what that looks like as we move forward. But in my group coaching program, I want to be really clear and help you understand that the program promises that we will continue to work with you until you get your guy, up to an entire year. So I want you to know that this isn't just like a come in and come out, like some sort of factory situation here. And I'm not shading other coaches, business, dating, whatever. I give a shit about the fact that I want you to find your person, right? That's why I'm here, especially if you're a woman of color, because there are different challenges that are involved there. So we're going to work with you until you get your guy, because that's the name of the fucking company.
And this is exactly what it's like. Just a lot of truth coming at you.
Hello. Girl, don't call me out. Girl.
I'm not.
Don't call me out.
No.
Pam, thank you so much for joining us and being here. This has been a joy, and I am so excited to hear about what you have to tell me. But for everyone out there, thank you so much for joining us, and we will talk with you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey girl, thank you so much for listening to the Get Your Guy Coaching podcast. If you like this episode and want to talk with me personally, please book a free consultation at www.getyourguycoaching.com/apply, or subscribe and leave me a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. Talk soon.